Today we're going to jump into two really fun topics. The first one being a Fujifilm recipe that's really popular, which is the Portra 400 film simulation. And we're going to talk about my black mist filter that I got from my Fujifilm camera. Let's go. Welcome back to another video. My name is Nicole. I do photography, videography, and all sorts of content creation on YouTube and other social media platforms, and I love street photography in particular. If you surf a lot of TikTok and you watch a lot of Fujifilm content, you would know that the Portra 400 film simulation is like the most popular film simulation out there. Every time you see this Portra 400 recipe on TikTok, it's usually shot in some European country or maybe in Japan, some nice country that has nice lighting. And I wanted to see how the Portra 400 performed in Singapore, in Southeast Asia lighting, in countries that are closer to the equator where our sunlight hits a little bit different. Street photography in itself is a really nice, like alone time kind of an activity, which is why I really like it. It's the one type of photography that you don't have to interact with anyone per se. And when I do street photography, I don't have to direct the scene. I don't have to fake anything. I don't have to move things around. It's just like whatever is happening on the street, we go, we get it, and you can still make magic. And that's what I love about street photography, is like going out there to kind of like look and wander around for the treasure. This is the Fujifilm Portra 400 recipe that I used for this particular shoot that I did, and I took my Fujifilm camera, made my way to take some shots. And I must say that the first time I tried shooting with the Portra 400 in Singapore, I was surprised at how yellow it was, and I was honestly not very used to it at the beginning, but as it went on, I started to really appreciate this warm glow that it gave, and it gave Singapore a very nostalgic, old school feel. Throwback to the old Singapore like I used to know when I was a lot younger. So it's very, very nostalgic. So the other thing that I recently bought, which I mentioned in the last video that I bought it and was very excited to try, is the black mist filter. So I got this black mist filter and it's K&F concept. My black mist filter is a 1/4 black diffusion because it fits onto my 35mm f2 lens, which is a 43mm rim size. So this was the only size that could fit my lens. I actually wanted a half-powered black diffusion. So this black diffusion lens filter actually gives your images a bit of that glow that you sometimes see in a lot of photos that you see nowadays. And I wanted the half-powered, which is a stronger glow, stronger power. But unfortunately, my lens, I could only fit this one, and this was the only power I could get, which is 1/4. So when I first played around with my 1/4 power black mist diffusion lens, I was a little bit disappointed because the power I knew would not be as glowy as what I wanted it to be. So this time around, when I went out with my Fujifilm camera, in my last video when I talked about Fujifilm recipes, I talked about how the clarity setting actually causes your camera's processing speed to slow down. So you can see in my video here that when I added clarity, my camera would take at least 3 seconds to process the image that I just captured, which means you cannot really do action shots, or you can't try to capture multiple shots of the same scene. If you're trying to capture a certain action, you really got to be very accurate of when you press down that shutter, which is fine. I told myself, let's embrace the whole film experience, right? Because when you shoot film, you tend to be more selective of your shots. You don't go ta 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 ta. Every tap is money, so you don't want to press it down so many times. So I thought, okay, fine, let's embrace the film like philosophy of shooting, and I will embrace the slow processing speed. So I added back clarity for this particular Portra 400 recipes, which most recipes like to include a clarity setting in it because it just gives that sort of softness to the image which mimics a film photo. When I added clarity, I realized that it did help my black mist diffusion lens to shine a bit more, and I could see the glow from the lights, if there are any lights, street lights, if there is sunlight, it would give off a much nicer glow with the clarity on. I'm very happy with the results. Yes, shooting is a bit slower. I think for street photography, it's still generally fine, but if I were to use it in like a professional setting, I think the processing speed would be way too slow. But for leisure, personal time, me time, alone time, enjoyment, it still works. It still works. And I would turn on the clarity just to get that nice glowy effect and not having to do anything in post-production or anything. So these are pure JPEG images that are coming out from the Fujifilm. The only adjustment I did is if, let's say, I did not shoot it straight and I wanted to straighten it a bit more. Everything else is more or less what came out from the camera. So as I was shooting, one thing that I did decide to tweak a little bit was the shadows. I think that maybe in Singapore our light hits a little bit different because we're so close to the equator, and our shadows tend to be a bit harder, like darker, and so I wanted to really lift the shadows and give it a softer look. That was the one thing I had to tweak, which is to push up the shadows a lot more. I think one of my favorite photos, I wouldn't say that out of all the photos I shot, this is the strongest photo, but I would say I enjoyed this interaction of capturing this image, which was when I walked past this mama shop. Singaporean fun fact, calling it a mama shop is a very Singaporean thing, and I'm going to share a little bit tiny history about how the name mama shop came about, because sometimes I also don't know why I start calling it mama shop. So how did the name mama shop come about? Mama shops are usually run by Indian owners, so they sell a lot of snacks and drinks and whatever you would probably need for day-to-day living. Apparently the term mama shop comes from the Tamil word mama, which is actually referring to like uncle, so it's actually like uncle shop. So not all provision shops are owned by Indians nowadays, but generally they still are, so they're called mama shops. Just an interesting fun fact of Singaporeans. So now we just call every provision shop mama shop. I don't know lah. I do, but it's not super accurate. But this one is, okay? So this is a mama shop. When I was walking towards it, I saw these two Indian ladies huddled over this table, and they were like scraping and eating and pulling stuff out of this huge fruit. But from afar, I couldn't see what fruit it was. I was like really intrigued, and I was like, maybe they're eating durian, or maybe they're eating jackfruit, because I saw like some jackfruits around the area. And when I finally walked past them, I realized, well, no, they were scooping out coconut meat flesh from the inside of the coconut, and they were like enjoying it. I think what I enjoyed about this little interaction is just that curiosity, you know, of other people's daily lives and what they're doing. And that's just something that I find fun when it comes to street photography, about satisfying that curiosity and like just being a documentarian of other people's day-to-day living. Like this is just their afternoon, like their evening thing that they have been doing, and I managed to capture it on camera, and it was just really fun. That little neighborhood, like, and then there was this uncle sitting under his pagoda. He had this whole setup that made it look like it's his little shed, you know, in the garden, and he was just chilling there. And it's these little interactions that I think make street photography special, when you chance upon moments like this. Maybe photography wise it's not my strongest image that I captured, but it's a really nice memory. The other image that I thought was really interesting was when I continued on my street photography after having dinner. I was actually, the place that I was eating was just next to this open field concrete area that had little spots for people to chill out, and there was this uncle who would take his like little mat and then sit under the one of the lampposts, and it just looked like he was just chilling or meditating. I don't know what he was doing. That whole area was very interesting because for this particular image, when you look into the HDB, because of the way this was structured, I was at an elevated platform and I could see parallel straight into, is it parallel? Parallel. I could see straight parallel into the corridors, which is because usually you're at the bottom, and if you want to shoot corridors you look up, but this one, because we are on an elevated platform, you can shoot straight in and you can get these nice clean straight lines, and you get to see like the layers of how people kind of use their corridor, you know, their bicycles, their plants, and all their little knickknacks. And I just think it's a very nice like layered photo of how people who live their life in Singapore and in these Singapore apartments. So yeah, what did you think of the Portra 400 in a Singaporean context? And I hope it also helps you see a little bit of how the black mist filter works on the Fujifilm camera with the added clarity setting and the kind of look it gives you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there are any recipes you would like me to try, or any other street photography videos or Fujifilm recipe videos you'd like me to make. Drop me a comment below, like and subscribe, and follow along as we do more of this creative fun life together. See you guys in the next video. Bye!